Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining 15 Minutes with Judi. I'm Judi Platz, the Chief Customer Support Officer at Support Logic. And I have the honor and pleasure of being joined by a phenomenal woman in our industry, Chitra Madhwacharyula. I really tried. I hope I did okay.
You did great.
Okay, thank you. And Chitra is Director of Partner and Customer Success Operations at NVIDIA. Chitra, thank you for joining. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Judi?
And doing good. Thank you so much for asking. How has your summer been? It's over, I guess, by the calendar year, right? Did you have a good summer?
Yeah, it was fabulous. Cannot complain. Did some family vacations with the kids in Alaska, so it was good.
Oh, phenomenal. What's the best part of Alaska? I keep wanting to do one of those cruises. Is that what you did, or did you something
No,
different?
we did cruises a couple of years back, but this time we did the road trip. So we flew into Anchorage and we drove up to Denali and visited a few towns in the middle, and it was good. Did a lot of activities.
That's fantastic. And what's the age of your children? Were they able to appreciate it?
14 and 12. Yeah, they loved it. So we hiked on the glaciers, we did whitewater rafting. There's lots to do, and the weather was perfect.
That's amazing. Good for you. And I hear absolutely just beautiful, just absolutely luscious scenery. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to just go through, and have a conversation today. I'm so glad, like I said, that you joined us. And, we're going to talk. I think there's a lot the audience may learn from you here today. You, first and foremost, you have written a book that is in our industry, Scaling Customer Success. That book is phenomenal. And if you haven't read it, to the audience, you can find that, I'm sure, still is available or readily available on Amazon. But for our industry, we don't have a lot of communication yet. There's been a few books put out. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of things for people who are still struggling with scaling customer success teams. Tell me, if somebody were to not know about the book or to be, thinking about the book, what would you want a reader to take away from that beautiful book that you wrote?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on this podcast. Honored to be here and have this discussion. The goal of writing the book was to really, solve a core problem or provide a blueprint for solving a core problem that we saw in the industry, which was, how do you make a customer success organization operationally viable? So there are a lot of discussions about, how to make an organization financially viable, and, you have your spreadsheets and you have your financials and so on and so forth. But from an operational viability perspective, customer success leaders run into a lot of roadblocks, because typically when you start the organization, you start by hiring a handful of customer success managers, mapping them to your high touch accounts and showing value. And that value is very obvious very quickly to the organization in terms of promoting customer advocacy, organic growth, adoption, and the other core metrics that we are interested in as an industry. But the challenge comes with, how do we go to the next step, right? Because linearly adding customer success managers is not the solution. It's not the solution to scale, and it's not the solution to operational viability either. So if you are a customer success leader, or if you are a CEO or a CRO, and you're looking at this organization and you see its value, but now you want to scale it in an operationally viable way, how do you do that? So that is the question that this book helps answer. It provides a blueprint for how you should be thinking about the operational viability of customer success, and how you can build such an organization that is not only operationally viable, but hopefully, gets to a point of being cost neutral as well. So that's essentially the strategy of that is discussed in this book and why it came about.
That's awesome. And I think you published it a year and a half ago. Okay.
Yes.
So now let's I wanted to talk about that book most importantly because I think it is phenomenal. And like I said, having led research at TSIA around the practice of customer success, I think anytime there's something out there that's rich in theory and application, I want to encourage people to grab that and really, digest it. But let's talk about you for a minute. 20 plus years in the industry. Right now, you're with NVIDIA. You've been with LinkedIn, HPE, graduated from Stanford, I believe, and a second degree as well from, was it Berkeley? Did I have that right? So you've been in this industry a while, right? We won't count it in dog years, but 20 years, 20 plus years in this industry is a long time. What are some of the morsels that you take away? What are you seeing around change in the industry? We could say customer success as a practice is still relatively new. I think there's people who'd say, no, it's not. And yet I think it is, right? If we're still having to define it when we go to customers, I still run into it with my customers who say, my other customer success manager from this company does this for me. My other company does this, right? Yeah. What are you thinking about the health of the customer success industry today?
I believe that customer success as a function and industry is going through an inflection point. Obviously, I think we have experimented with customer success. We have a lot of CS leaders who have set up really successful organizations and so on and so forth. And even in terms of scale, from when I wrote the book 1 year back to where we are right now, I think a lot has changed in terms of how customer success can be approached and what we can do with it from an execution perspective. And what I mean by that is that in my book, I discuss the overall strategy, the application blueprint, and all of that is still relevant. But the new thing that has come into picture and essentially exploded is Gen AI. So, I think, and that fundamentally changes this discussion of what does operational viability look like, right? And we were talking about scaling customer success, digital customer success, and digitizing workflows, touch points, and so on for a while. But Gen AI application of that technology takes it to the next level. And that's why I'm very excited to be in customer success operations, specifically at NVIDIA, because this gives us a front seat into leveraging this extremely important and state-of-the-art technology directly to our field. So can we build avatars, right, for digital CSMs? Is there a way to provide a more personalized digital experience using these, human avatars, using models, using the different abilities we have right now with the chatbots, right? With voice modulators, with localization capabilities, and everything that can happen, very, very quickly with minimal coding, with all the different tools that we have. So how do we apply that to build a really powerful customer experience and scale that customer experience? And I think that's really where we are going to head with customer success as a function. And that could be a game changer for us, both for the broader industry and executives realizing the value of what customer success brings to the table, and also have the discussion about scaling it without really breaking the bank.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that is tremendous. It needs to be recognized. It's a huge opportunity. A lot of companies are talking about it. I received so many requests for feedback, offers to show the products and how it applies to customer success. So there is a lot of momentum around it. I think the key is to really take a step back and look at what we do in CS holistically, see how all these new technologies can be applied to enhance the digital customer experience, and come out with a minimum viable solution or product that you can potentially use with your set of customers.
when people do the tell me you're doing something without telling me you're doing it, right? I think right now you just told us that you're writing your second book without telling us you're writing your second book. You have a lot going on, I can tell. And like you said, just in the year things have changed. We'll look for book 2 to come out soon, I'm sure, right? So fantastic. Thank you for the answer. I think to the point that you made, a year and a half ago, it wasn't what it is today. I think a lot of our fellow executives and our fellow leaders are getting so much noise, inundated on the daily, whether you're in the email and in LinkedIn and wherever you're looking. You are hearing about the new possible solutions, the new way to start with AI. I think a lot of leaders, what is it when you say, what is it? Paralysis by analysis, right? There's so much to look at. If someone's watching this and they're struggling with that exact thing, they're getting so much inundation. Do you have one tip or trick of where to start, where to look? You talk about creating bots or avatars. To a lot of people, that sounds a bit intimidating, right? What should we start inside the walls and help the practitioner? Should we start outside the walls and help the customers first? Any thoughts on that?
I think we should absolutely drink our own champagne first and show that that value that we are getting internally, and then expand that to our customers. That would be, and especially if we are not comfortable with the technology, right? And we don't really fully understand the capabilities and what it can do. And it doesn't have to be customer success. It can be a chat bot that helps answer frequently asked questions in your organizations. And avatars and humanoids are obviously a little bit more advanced step. You can start with a simple support chatbot, for example, right? A lot of people are looking into that, or something that is like a co-pilot that listens to your customer conversations and summarizes it and sends the meeting notes out. So we don't have to boil the ocean. And on all of these, for example, if you're using products like Microsoft Teams or other video conferencing tools, many of them are either supporting or getting to a point where they support such capabilities. So it's about understanding what is available in the market today, and that is changing very, very fast, but and how that can potentially be applied to make our organizations much more effective and efficient. That would be a good place to start. That should not be intimidating. And to your point, I think the step one is Gen AI is a tool, and it is similar to, we might have gotten intimidated by the internet or WhatsApp or whatever a generation back, but there is no pulling away from it. So the sooner we get comfortable with it and the sooner we start leveraging it and be a pioneer in leveraging it, I think the better advantage we have to set ourselves and our organizations up for success.
I love that. Be a pioneer. I think it is possible, right? We can always be learning and advancing ourselves, and don't be afraid of it. Embrace it is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, don't be afraid of it. Embrace it, experiment, and take your baby steps. Do something. I always say that, enough of talking. Let's do something, and we will learn from it, even if it's not perfect.
Absolutely. So we're gonna go with that word experiment there for a second. You describe yourself, self-described, as a focused experimenter. And I love that term. Can you tell me more about what those two words put together mean for you, and how has that helped you in your career?
I am lifelong student, essentially. So I love learning new fields, new technologies. It doesn't have to be all tech. I'm a student of history. And one thing that I'm really good at is being able to connect the dots from the diverse set of learnings that I have and bring them into focus to solve a specific issue or a problem that I or my customers might be having. So, I'm not afraid to experiment. So it's not just learning is just not enough. And I don't call myself a focused learner. I think of myself as a focused experimenter, because applying your learnings, not being afraid to experiment with what you have learned is, I think, extremely important. But you want that experimentation to come with some focus. It cannot be random. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. So, having a true recognition of the diverse set of knowledge that you have. And I'm a big believer, by the way, in the breadth of knowledge. I think depth is extremely important, but I think breadth is equally important as well, whether it be across industries, whether it be across different fields. Your ability to become a problem solver becomes that much more powerful if you apply not only the depth but also the breadth of knowledge that you have to experiment and then learn from those experiments and become a better leader and a better problem solver.